So, the first question I asked myself is, where do you start? As you can see by the pictures, I've got a lot of gardens. I've got a lot of space. Our yard is really, really big. So, where do we start? And I had to make the decision. And the decision was, let's just go for it and figure it out. So, the next thing was to things that you have to keep in mind before you even start any of this is sunlight. Here in the northern hemisphere, we need a southern exposure. We need to have the greenhouse face south. I needed my plants to get as much sun as possible, but our yard had tons of trees, so we had to take the location into consideration and figure out what trees needed to be trimmed or taken down. So the next step, of course, is it's time to clean up. Not my favorite. I made the mistake of letting the weeds grow, and as you can see, I can't even find my dog. So words of advice: don't let the weeds grow. But basically, we cleaned it all up, which took quite a while to pull weeds. And then I trimmed my privets, as you can see here in these pictures. Those needed to be trimmed back and a few branches, big branches, taken off. And we were ready to measure. All right, here is our space that we decided where we were going to put our greenhouse. And for measuring, we need things like hammers, stakes, and string. And you basically, as you can see by this picture, you just, pound in the stake, wrap the string around it. And here is the area where our 10 wide by 11 long greenhouse will be. So once again, if you're going to measure out, our goal here was 10 foot wide by 11 long structure, and there's your list of what is needed. So now it was time to dig in, and I wanted to show you the tools that were really helpful in being able to dig and remove grass and all of that stuff. As you can see, we've got quite a bit there, but what was really important in the first step was the turf edger, and that basically cut the turf. You can cut edges, obviously, turf edger. And so here's a picture of, I cut stripes first, and then I cut them into squares. And that was really helpful to be able to remove the sod that way. The second step was to let those squares sit overnight, and the whole concept behind that was to let them dry out. If they dried out, it was easier to remove the sod and easier to remove the debris underneath it. So here are a few pictures of kind of what that looked like after we took the sod up. And then there are more where you can see the edges. And you can also see there's some rocks. We live in a high clay area, and we have flagstone all over the place. And it's kind of a pain, actually, because you'd be digging along thinking you're doing great, and then you hit a rock. So my suggestion for that one, if you've got that problem, the garden fork was the best thing to pop those rocks out and also remove the soil. So here's a picture of what it looked like after we removed the sod and dug part of it up. Thank you for joining me today on Diary of a Greenhouse. Stay tuned for my next episode.